just like the contracts or the legal papers that you have in traditional world. There are smart contracts on the Ethereum chain. Now, how are they different from the traditional world smart contracts? In the traditional world, you need an authority to enforce the contract. Let's say you need a judge to enforce the contract. You need the executionary forces to enforce the contract. On the Ethereum chain, you do not need any permission. Once the code is written and it is broadcasted, there is no way that you could change the code. The lingo on Ethereum is that code is the law. Now let's take a simple example. So let's say that you own a land. Now, if most of the time, the like 75% disputes in India are property disputes, because somebody forges the document. There are a lot of scams that happen in land disputes. So if you must have heard about NFTs. So NFT is nothing but a smart contract. The contract is written in such a way that that it creates a new token for every piece of land. Uh, so in reality, what the NFTs that we see on Ethereum chain, they are backed by an image or JPEG or a video or a sound. So that means that you own that video. When if you have that NFT in your wallet, it means that you own the rights to that image, video, sound, whatever. Now, if we replicate the same thing with properties, let's say if the government moves ahead and they start tokenizing land and estates, so there will be very less disputes in it. Now, why? Because in blockchain, as we saw, that there are multiple blocks. If you want to change data of any block, the entire blockchain after that becomes useless. So this is why the data can never be changed on a blockchain. It can only be added. It can never be deleted. It can be edited, but going forward, not backward. So there will always. So let's say if I own a piece of land, there is an NFT corresponding to it. I have that NFT in my account. Now, until until the end of the world, there will always be a proof that at some point of time I owned this NFT, and this NFT links to a land in traditional world. So there will always be a proof that I owned this land. Nobody can delete the proof. They in future, let's say if I sell my land, so the NFT owner will be different now. The person who bought the land will own that NFT, but there will always be a proof that I owned the land. So this is where smart contracts can come into use, wherein you need to enforce certain laws. So in DeFi, now DeFi is decentralized finance. They are sort of built on smart contracts. So why do we need DeFi? Now, as you saw that there's a war going on between Russia and Ukraine, so a lot of countries have stopped dealing with Russia, and they are not honoring Russian banks. They are not honoring Russian currency. In DeFi, there is no stopping you. Let's say you want to swap one currency for another. Let's say you want to swap Ethereum to USDT. Nobody can stop you. You just make the transaction. It goes via the smart contract, and when the transaction gets mined, you receive your corresponding tokens. So smart contracts, uh, it is where you cannot trust anybody. Smart contracts are used wherein you just couldn't trust anybody, or you shouldn't trust anybody. Now, what there are also called it ERC20 token. So like we discussed for Bitcoin chain, Ethereum chain, there are miners. They mine the transaction, broadcast the transaction, submit a proof of work. Now, what if you want to launch your own coin? You also would have to go to all through all the tedious process of setting up, you know, an entire making up an entire blockchain, and then the miners would come use your chain. So this is where you can on Ethereum, there are smart contracts, right? So you can create a ERC20 token. Now, what is ERC20 token? ERC20 token means that your token lies on the Ethereum chain itself. You do not need miners. You do not need anybody, but it is on top of the Ethereum chain. So all the miners that are responsible for securing the Ethereum chain are also responsible for securing your smart contracts and your token. Now you can write certain laws into smart contracts. So let's say you want that whenever a user transfers his fund, his tokens to somebody else, there should be a 10% tax, and that 10% tax you should receive it. Now, if you have written that into the code of your smart contract and you have deployed it, so there is no way that the user could circumvent that, and it is all public. You can see the entire code of smart contract. In banks, there are certain rules and regulations that, okay, if you own such so many millions, we'll give you a discounted fees, and or we won't take any fees. But we don't know that, because we don't have that kind of money. In the smart contracts, in the Ethereum chain, if there are rules, if there is any way via which somebody could get a special treatment, it is all written in the code. You will always know that, okay, somebody is being given special treatment, or let's say, uh, the creator of the NFT. Now, what if somebody who owns that NFT loses his private key? So he also loses access to his NFT. Now, if the government makes it a law that whoever owns this NFT also owns the land corresponding to it, and the person loses his private key, so what does that mean? He also lost his land. Exactly, right? He lost his land. So, the government might add certain code into the smart contracts that, okay, we might have an admin who would be able to recover the NFT. So if that is the case, you can see that in the code itself. Once the code is deployed, it cannot be changed. So you would be able to know that, are your funds secure? In the banks, banks get hacked, then in that case you do not know what went wrong in the bank. In smart contracts and blockchain, you will know exactly who stole the funds, like how he stole the funds. You'll be able to see the entire smart contract.